What's up, everybody? Alan Johnson with the AJ team. Today I'm going to tell a story about how I got into real estate and why I got into real estate. So graduated from George Mason in 1999 with the English literature degree, and the first job I got was not in English literature. It was at a used car dealership in Fairfax. So my dad was super happy about the fact that he thought that I was going to end up getting into sales, and it was a good start and a good place. My mom probably wasn't so happy because I got a 4-year degree in English literature, and it probably wasn't the particular path that she thought that I should start out. But you know, God has a way of positioning us in places that we need to be. So fast forward 2 years later, was doing really well. I don't know if you worked at a car dealership, but if you work at a car dealership, you work literally from bell to bell. And didn't have a whole lot of time to spend money, so I was just saving money. And the one thing that my dad gave me for my graduation present was $5,000 towards purchasing my first house. Right, so that may be a great gift for any people with kids out there, any of our clients and friends with kids out there. I just kind of think about that. So one day he says, "Hey, Alan, it's time for you to buy a house." I was living in a really nice, cheap rental in Kingstown with my buddy Sean, and just wasn't really interested in going to buy a house. But you know, my dad kind of forced me to do it, and you know, our parents tend to have the foresight that we don't have. So I go out one weekend to open houses, and no one will talk to me. So imagine me. I've got Allen Iverson cornrows. This is the early 2000s. I've got baggy sweatpants on. It's my day off. You know, I'm sure I didn't look like the prototypical buyer, and people didn't treat me like the prototypical buyer. So I come home the next week and I say, "Hey, Dad, you know, I went to look at houses. No one would talk to me. So this is a sign that I should stay at the place that I'm currently staying at." So he says, "Well, that's probably not the right sign." So he comes up the next weekend and he goes with me to open houses. And my dad is in there with me, and as you can imagine, a lot of the agents are talking directly to him and not so much to me. And my dad's like, "Hey, look, I live in Charlottesville. I'm not buying. You need to be talking to my son." The last open house we went to, it was an older black lady who looked a lot like my aunt. And she was like, "Hey, I'll help you. You know, you remind me of my son. I would love to help you buy your first house." So I'm thinking, great, we got this all worked out. You know, Dad can go home. I'll meet her on my next day off. So I show up at her office on a Tuesday, and she stands me up, right? And I get back home and I call my dad and I say, "Look, this is a sign, she stood me up. This is a sign for me not to buy." My dad, in his infinite wisdoms, just lets me calm down. I go to the dealership the next day, and the first person that walks onto a lot is a young man named Lydio. And Lydio's buying a Mazda 626. And as I hand him the application, he hands me the application filled out back to me. At the bottom of the application said his job is a real estate agent. And, God works in super mysterious ways. So I told that young man that I was going to buy a house from him, and I did. I think 3 months later, I bought a house from him. And I also, during that 3 months, went to get my real estate license at Nova. And I decided that there were a bunch of guys that were bunch of my friends that were coming out of school from George Mason, people that I knew, and I never wanted them to go through the same process that I went through. I wanted them to be treated right. I wanted them to have someone that they could grow with, someone that understood the market, someone that was going to, do right by them regardless of how they look. So that's why I got into real estate, right? And 18 years later, over 1,200 homes later, I've had the pleasure of having people come to our team and people, have purchased their first condos, their townhomes, their single family homes, their investment properties through us. And, it just feels more like family than anything. But I wanted you guys to hear my why. I wanted you to understand why the AJ team is what the AJ team is. So hope you guys got something out of the story. I love telling it, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. All right, Alan Johnson with the AJ team. You have the dream, we have the address, and we'll see you soon.